I have not been the same person since a few days ago, and that's because I lost my 50-50 on Jinglu in Star Rail, and that has caused me to fall into a deep depression.
Jesus Christ. Fucking hell, man.
But you know what? I actually use that as motivation to take out a loan so that I can just wail on characters from now on. Jokes aside, it's pushed me to finally get this video out because let's be honest, the meta, it doesn't matter. What matters is playing the character that makes you giggle the most when they make a cameo in an event.
What I'm talking about! That's why he's the MVP! That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
So here we go with the second part of the series where I try to convince you that your Genshin main is actually just the greatest creation in all of history. God created every human in that character's image. They really are the one that knocks. Anyway, you get the point. Let's get into it. But firstly, random internet person, I would like to ask you a question. Would you like to play a Geo character with a shield ability who basically has functional immortality? No, not that one. That's the one. That's the one. The knight in training slash battle maid slash so sweet that every cutscene with her has a 56% chance of leading to a diabetes diagnosis. Noelle has a few tricks up her sleeve that makes playing Geo feel bearable. Only slightly though, don't push your luck. Her elemental skill is a shield ability that has a chance to restore HP for the entire party when you hit people with your big ass sword. Yes, that is its scientific name, meaning that you can use it as a protective support or as a rock steady main DPS. Her DPS credentials are backed up by the fact that her burst gives her a sword that I can only really describe as anime sized and converts all her normal attacks into Geo. A neat little thing is that at C1, if you have her burst and skill both active at the same time, it guarantees that every hit will heal instead of just having a chance to heal, meaning that you can just hurt her meme your way to Abyss Order immortality. One of her passives can also grant a shield to a party member if she's off field if that party member goes below a certain health threshold, which is very helpful when you decide to play like a dumbass, which is literally every single time I boot up this game. She's just a rock solid. I didn't actually mean that as a pun. I wrote that into the script naturally, but we're still gonna slide Sino on screen because, like, you know, rock, Geo.
Not funny.
Anyway, she definitely has what it takes to clean up every enemy. Oh god, not again. The Princess of Condemnation, Photon, overly long name here, has an infinite amount of ways to showcase the unending brilliance that only one as magnificent as herself would possess. Also, yes, that is what her title means, the Princess of Condemnation. I know that it's purposefully over the top, but why does she sound like an Elden Ring boss with that name? A lot of Fischl's destructive force comes from one word: Oz. Honestly, Oz has to be one of the most powerful things in the game and was literally something that Fischl imaginary friended into existence. Imagine if you just always had electro application. That's the homeboy, Osvaldo.
Fräulein, mind your phrasing.
Fischl's elemental skill brings him out to say hi before he strikes you down with a Zeus-style lightning bolt, while her burst turns him into a typical dive-bombing raven that is somehow still less dangerous than a crow doing this IRL. The constant electro application, as well as several constellations that can add more utility on top of that, is just invaluable to many different teams, whether you're playing Electro Charged, Hyper Bloom, Overload, Superconduct, you just dash in some fish. Okay, we're not doing this joke again. You can also just do some really funky things like deploying Oz and standing far away so that you can cheese certain fights. There were certain fights I was fighting in Leeward. I might as well have been in Inazuma with how far away I was with Fischl compared to Oz. You can also use her burst to reposition your character. Like, yes, I have genuinely used her burst to run away with some serpentine fighter jet evasive maneuvers when I've realized I've done a stupid in a fight. Overall, Fischl proves that she is a brilliant vermilion bolt in the night, carving open the darkness that befalls a land that— yeah, no, I'm done now. Mom, what is it, you little shit? I want Kazuha. Can I borrow your credit card? But honey, we have Kazuha at home. Jokes aside, Sucrose is quietly one of the more useful support characters that you can have in the game. Quietly because I feel like she'd die if she had to talk to anybody. Which, to be honest, same bestie, same.
I mean, of course.
While she doesn't have the Pinata Hurricane or the sheer chaotic energy of Venti, or the premium suck and utter style of Kazuha, she makes up for it by being able to pull a tornado out of her pocket as if it were just a piece of bubblegum. Both her skill and her burst can consistently swirl and do some crowd control, considering that they almost function as a trampoline for a lot of enemies. Her elemental burst, like Kazuha's and Venti's, also has elemental absorption, meaning it can also deal damage of the element that it absorbs. Not only that, but both her passives can increase the elemental mastery of your other party members depending on certain conditions. While she may not see herself as significant, Sucrose teaches us an important lesson. That if someone bullies you for being a nerd, just become a scientist and invent a tornado device that tears them to shreds. Just don't go collecting people's breath again. Nah, that was low-key sociopath. That was low-key some Dottore behavior. Sucrose, what the hell was happening during Windbloom? Mona definitely has more of a handle on combat than she does on Homura. At least, allegedly.
I'm just occasionally out of Mora, that's all. I never said I was a pauper.
Huh? You know, if they do this for every broke character, like they actually reveal the Archons all have 7-story mansions and Kave has a super megalodon submarine, I may just have to uninstall. As proof of Mona's competence, for one, she can literally just turn herself into a dolphin at any given opportunity, and two, she's the reason why we've had to deal with countless nuke build TikTok videos. This is gonna age very poorly when I cave in and make some 5 million damage Dia build, isn't it? Anyway, she's got a nice set of abilities. You thought I'd say nice set of something else, didn't you? I'm watching you. I know who you are. Her special sprint applies Hydro onto anyone she touches after she comes up from role-playing a fish, while her elemental skill not only taunts enemies and constantly applies Hydro, but also may be the most ridiculous looking taunt in the game. What in the heck is this thing? It looks like a cheap neon sign advertising her back alley fortune telling side hustle. She can also create a weaker version of the taunt if you use her salmon sprint for long enough around enemies. Arguably, the star of the show is her burst, which, I'm going to be honest, I still don't understand the logistics behind this. I don't understand the astrophysics behind how the buff debuff damage boost works, but basically it can turn what could have been already big dick damage into Godzilla dick damage, and I enjoy inflicting pain, so I see that as an A+. The description also says that it traps enemies in a pocket of destiny, which is just glorious, and it also has low-key some of the best voice lines attached to it.
Written in the stars.
Yes, Mona has some of the best burst lines in the game. Argue with your great-grandfather's dog about that. Mona is just a wonderful Hydro character to have. It's just too bad that when I got her, I actually wanted Zhongli, you little bitch. Diona decided to look at all the other supports in the game, see that they had to choose between healing and shielding, and said fuck it, I'm going to do both. She's pretty straightforward to explain. Her elemental skill creates a shield that can be strengthened by holding E instead of just tapping it, and her burst is a healing friendship circle that also consistently does cryo damage. I genuinely don't really know what else to say. She's just very good. Like, it's hard for me to even make jokes about that. She's just good. Like, if you didn't know already, let me let you know. Consistent element application, shielding, and healing are ultimately all good.
Whoa. Nah, I never knew that.
She's just a pretty good and flexible support that can really make your life easier. Even if she is dedicated to making the lives of the people in the wine industry hell, I still don't understand how her whole plan to sabotage Mondstadt's wine industry works. Maybe I'm just not meant to understand. Maybe I just cannot fathom her genius. In which case, understandable, have a nice day. Diona is one of those characters that are usually slapped with the dreaded must pull label, but honestly, I wouldn't disagree. In the last video, I said that Jean was one of the least talked about 5 stars in the game. But even just saying that, I immediately contradicted myself, as I hadn't even thought about Albedo until I had to look at the character screen for this video. Hell, HOYO-verse haven't thought about this man in 5 years, and this game is only 3 years old. Despite that, and even though he has about a 56% hair loss from his promotional art versus his in-game model, Albedo is certainly 100% good time to play for those who have him. Albedo's elemental skill can not only summon a Flower of Doom that can deal geo damage when you damage enemies, but can also be used as the most bougie elevator this side of Dubai. His elemental burst has him practicing his earthbending for the next season of Avatar, dealing a good amount of damage as well as increasing the elemental mastery of your party due to one of his passives. He's also not someone you solely need to play in Mono Geo, aka Ito or aka Ito teams but no Ito, as not only is he one of the few DPS characters that can work on a team with Zhongli's son Zhao, but can also just slide into a lot of teams due to how flexible his kit is. But honestly, the most compelling reason to play him is his sheer unadulterated drip. Even with his hair being done dirty, look at this man, he fixes his glove after he does his burst, moving like 007 out here. The white long coat, the glove, nah, he's quietly a Fashion Week worthy character. That's enough to have him be worthy of your time. I need you to be honest with yourself. I could probably pitch Rosaria as goth vampire murder nun and you would all immediately be sold, wouldn't you? I know the target audience of this game, I cannot be fooled. Seriously though, the knife that she wields is not just for play. Could you put the knife away though, Rosaria? I'm terrified. She is someone who believes that revenge is a dish best served cold, as the damage and cry application from both her elemental skill and elemental burst are pretty good to have. Her skill also allows her to dash through some of the smaller enemies in the game, meaning that you can headcanon the idea that Rosaria has just snatched a poor Hilichurl's soul and sent them into a cold nothingness. Rosaria's burst has her axe kick an ice spear from the heavens into the ground. You know what? Maybe I get it now. Maybe I get it now. On a serious note, it does consistently deal cryo damage as well as buff the crit rate of other party members due to one of her passives. You also have the option of playing her either as a bloodthirsty on-field main DPS or as a slightly less active but equally as bloodthirsty sub DPS, and in both cryo and physical teams. Despite being someone that will never work a single day of overtime in her life, she does put in the work when it matters. No, I meant in combat, like doing reactions. I know where some of you went with that. She can also say this when she uses her burst, which wouldn't be important for any other character, but again, I know the target audience of this game. From one frosty hard hitter to another, as well, Eula will not be on another banner until 2027. Those who did pull for her can still enjoy all her beauty, her grace, and all this vengeance in your face. Eula's greatest assets are her thigh. Eula's greatest asset is her ability to deal high physical damage, as she is the queen of that niche in this game. Her elemental skill, apart from just being a big ass hit with a big ass sword, can generate stacks of Grimheart when used as a Grimheart. Okay, so she also goes in the overly dramatic edgy claymore wielder club then, okay. Holding her skill instead of tapping it can consume those stacks of Grimheart to shred both cryo and physical resistance, as well as, once again, still being a big ass hit with a big ass sword. Her elemental burst is, look, just play the line, okay?
Vengeance will be mine!
Are you happy? You happy now? You satisfied? Her burst can deal a Risley's booty-sized amount of physical damage. It can inflict as much pain onto enemies as exploring Dragonspine inflicted pain on your psyche long term. How Eula's burst works is that it creates a Lightfall sword. Okay, we're still on the theatric names, okay. Any damage that Eula herself deals charges the sword before it eventually bursts more disastrously than my hopes and dreams, basically creating a bomb of physical damage. Wait, Klee, why are you looking at me like that? The Lightfall sword also increases her resistance to interruption, meaning that nobody will be able to stop you from having the most violent dance practice session ever. Honestly, I can't say a bad thing about Eula, mostly because she would probably swear vengeance upon me if I did. Okay, so a strange aside, but I genuinely don't know a single thing about how Aloy operates in Genshin. She's one of the few characters where I just know jack shit about how she plays, and I feel it would be even more disingenuous than usual to try pretend that I understand even 1% of how she operates. So to all the Aloy mains, I'm really sorry, I'm going to have to skip her. But I'll take the opportunity to say this. Oftentimes characters like Aloy, Amber, Dia, Chi-Chi, and some other usual culprits are targeted for being either exceptionally weak, clunky, or downright despicable to play, to the point where you may as well take being seen as an armed robber over being seen as someone who plays Dory. While I do indulge in these memes, this is just a little message, I guess. It doesn't matter who you play, genuinely. Play who you want, play who you find most fun and will bring the most enjoyment out of this game for you. Because honestly, we're all just trying to play this game so we can find some fulfillment in our own ways. So whether that's a tea-loving Ice Warden, a broke god who has his literal enemy be his sugar daddy, whether it's a pyromaniac or someone who you wished was a pyromaniac instead of the menace she is, whether it's this gay disaster or this gay disaster, it doesn't matter. play who you want. Your main is a meta pick because you enjoy playing them. And that's kind of the message behind this whole thing under all of the memes. Okay, back to being a dick, Mika's dog. Ah yes, Mika, a character that occurs when you take Alphino Levayer, combine him with a Chocobo, somehow make him even shorter than Alphino, and then give him about 7 different weapons that he's pulling out of a Skyrim-sized pocket. Being from the Reconnaissance Company, it makes sense that he would synergize well with Captain Vengeance, being a physical damage buffing support so that we can actually punch things to the ground with our bare hands as God intended. Mika's elemental skill, which lets him 360 no-scope hilichurls, not only increases attack speed, but also the physical damage of any on-field characters. His elemental burst also grants a stay to any on-field character that can heal them through their normal attacks every few seconds. And any skill that allows me to indulge in my insatiable bloodlust is always a very good skill to me.
I beg your pardon?
It also gives a big heal on the initial activation of the burst. I also had a peek at his constellations and some of them are pretty stupid dumb. What do you mean 60% physical crit damage boost? Holy sh! Honestly, the reason why he's S tier is because he can buff Eula. And any character that can buff Eula even by 0.3% is automatically S tier to me, I don't care. And there we have it, all of the Mondstadt characters in the books, which means you'll have to wait till another 14 years until I get out the next installment of this. At least Eula would have had a rerun by then. If you enjoyed this video, please consider hitting a thumbs up and that strange red button to know when I get up to more shenanigans. But for now, safe tidings, traveler. I'll see you in the next one.